Has a goal and scores majestically.
Oh my word! Fabulous!
Oh, what a strike that is. Simply spectacular.
Oh, it's an absolute beauty, isn't it?
The best goal of the night.
It all starts here.
Hello and welcome to National League 72. In midweek, we saw a dominant Oldham Athletic dismantle FC Halifax Town and possibly the game of the season between Rochdale and Southend United. Erin, there is only one place to start. The scenes at the Crown Oil Arena were absolutely incredible. Rochdale 3, Southend United 4. Have we seen the game of the season?
Quite possibly, yeah. You know, I think that purely because the momentum shift was continuous throughout the game. You know, a fabulous start for Rochdale, you have to say. You know, Devante Rodney opening the scoring after 8 minutes. Rochdale finding themselves 3-1 up. And then all of a sudden the momentum shift to Southend, and the character that they showed to get that win, you know, was absolutely outstanding.
When we saw that penalty given that gave Rochdale the 3-1 lead, did you think it was curtains for Southend United at that point?
Yes. Yeah, I thought that, you know, being at home and with a 3-1 lead, I thought, yeah, that's going to be Southend done. You know, at no point did I look and think, yeah, they'll still come back. I've got to say, I think a pivotal moment was the substitution of Tyrone Alawakia and Liam Hogan coming on. Now, that's no disrespect to Rochdale and to Jimmy McNulty. I just think that, you know, I was there watching it and I thought, will that give Southend a bit of, you know, a little bit of, not momentum, but to make them think, right, they're going to just try and defend this lead now. You know, I think it was like 68 minutes or so on the clock. Did that shift their mindset to say, right, they've gone defensive now, they're going to just try and hold out. Now we really need to put our foot on the gas.
What does this mean for Southend United now? They travel so well. We saw in the previous round against Gateshead, they took 1,600, packed out the away end last night. This is a night that they will all remember, won't they?
It will go down in history, that eliminator. You know, and coming through such a tough tie, having to show so many different facets of their game, having to really stand up and be counted and show the character and togetherness that they've got in the camp, I think will give them huge confidence that they can go and get another famous victory and, you know, get themselves to Wembley.
In the other eliminator, it was a goal fest, but it was more one-sided than the game we saw between Rochdale and Southend. It felt like the tie between Oldham and FC Halifax Town was over within 13 minutes.
Well, yeah, you know, 12 minutes on the clock and 3-0, and the tie was over. You know, it was just a case of how many. You know, I think Ollie Wilson said in commentary, this is going to be a cricket score. And it quite easily could have been. You know, I was really disappointed for FC Halifax and their fans, really, because they at no point did they really give it a go. You know, when you get to this stage, and you have to say, first of all, you have to put it in perspective and say, FC Halifax have overachieved to get to the playoffs. They've had an absolutely magnificent season, and when you look at their budget in comparison to especially some of the other teams that are in the playoffs, you have to give them credit for performing in the way that they did. The disappointing thing would be that in the first eliminator, they don't do themselves justice. They don't show the level of performance that has got them into that position. On the flip side, Oldham were absolutely outstanding. It was very much men against boys. They showed their power, they showed their aggression, they showed their desire. And in front of their home crowd, they were keen to put on a show. And when you score after, you know, a few minutes, straight away you get that crowd on your side. And we know what that place is like when it's rocking.
Yeah, that power and aggression came from Mike Fondop up top as well. Players Player of the Year, Supporters Player of the Year as well. He got Player of the Match as well. What a performance from him, not just scoring as well, but assisting with the goals. He could be really dangerous moving forward in these playoffs.
Absolutely. Listen, he's a powerhouse, you know, and one thing I love about Mike is that he is starving for goals. He's starving for performances. If you watch him throughout the game, You know, he's so animated and emotional. He's there, he's G'ing the crowd up. You know, whenever he does something, you can see him almost just powering up. Do you know what I mean? It was fitting that he got his goal. It was a brilliant assist I think it was for Kitchen's goal. But his all-round performance, he gives you everything. You know, he leaves no stone unturned. And when I spoke to him earlier in the season, he said that he feels as he gets older, he's getting better. You know, he's definitely learning from his previous experiences. And at the moment, he looks, if you had to pin your hopes on one man, he would by far be the man that Oldham would be pinning their hopes on.
Yes, we're seeing that with like Ollie Pearce, who's, you know, hit some great form this season. You've got Michael Cheek, who went up, like the older strikers. It's great to see that they're getting better with age. That atmosphere that we've seen at Oldham, they've had a bit of a streaky time going into the playoffs and that, but that mentality on and off the pitch going into the semi-final could be huge for them. Yeah,
huge. And what they have that some of the others don't have is they've got a manager in Mickey Mellon who's been there, done it, and got the T-shirt. He's been successful in playoffs. I remember coming up against Mickey Mellon's Tranmere team and losing to them, and they went on and got promoted. He has the experience of being in these situations. So he can remain fairly calm, but give his experience to his players, you know, and clearly they took on board all the instructions. Whatever the game plan was for that game, they executed it perfectly. And like I say, 4-0, but could have easily been more.
So what we've got now in the semi-finals is 4 huge teams in York City, Southend, Forest Green and Oldham, who have been Football League clubs. Oldham have been in the Premier League. So whoever does get that final spot, it's going to mean so much to that football club.
They're 2 huge ties. The fans will turn out for these 2 games, absolutely no doubt about that. You know, and it's difficult to gauge who is the favourites really, because Southend have just shown that they can travel away and put in a magnificent performance. You know, Oldham's game was at home. They definitely used the energy from the crowd. They now need to travel to York, which is going to be a difficult game. It's so tough, and no one's really talking about Forest Green. You know, Forest Green have had an iffy end to the season, but make no mistake, on their day, they are as good as anything in this division, and they've got some big players. You know, we'll touch on it a bit later on, but they've got some match winners in their ranks. So it's 2 brilliant ties, and I can't wait to see who comes out on top.
So the stage is set for 2 spectacular semi-finals. National League runners-up York City entertain Oldham Athletic. That is taking place on Tuesday. You can watch it live on DAZN at 7:15. And then the very next day we have Forest Green Rovers against Southend United, another blockbuster event which you can catch live on DAZN at 7:15. Don't go anywhere, because after the break we will be discussing those incredible semi-finals, and if we're lucky we may even get a couple of predictions from Mystic Mac. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Greatness comes to DAZN this summer. The world's best players will be summoned together to decide the greatest club on earth.
Vinicius, great chance to score.
Goats will battle Wonder Kids. Fire will meet ice. From Boca to Bayern, PSG to Palmeiras, 32 clubs from across the globe will compete to be crowned
Rodrigo, what a strike that was.
world champion. And this summer, Haaland won't be watching from home, but you can, on DAZN. In every country in the world. FIFA Club World Cup. Watch on DAZN from the 14th of June.
Hey everyone, I'm Ariel.
And I'm Ade.
Introducing the Ariel and Ade Boxing Show. All the headlines and hard-hitting debate from the world of boxing.
And we've got special guests every single week.
So if you love boxing, you'll love this program.
Every Tuesday, live on DAZN.
Hey, listen up.
Let's have it.
We know you've always got your eye on the prize, the championship belt. And why wouldn't you? You're a finely tuned, well-oiled boxing watching machine, capable of consuming over 150 fights on DAZN every year.
We've gone big, we've gone global.
Churning through combinations, comebacks, and non-stop knockouts.
Where are you?
With big fights every week, You're the best in the world. So go on, get that belt, champ. DAZN, undisputed.
DAZN is the global home of women's football.
Let's go!
Bringing you the best live games.
On my team!
With the biggest stars, battling it out in the biggest competitions.
Cue the chaos! First blood in the title decider! Would you believe it? Goodness me!
Witness every season-defining moment.
The stuff of champions!
Live and on demand, only on DAZN.
Welcome back to National League 72. We have two scintillating playoff semi-finals on the horizon. Let's start with York City versus Oldham Athletic. One thing's for sure, Erin, it's going to be a sellout here, isn't it? The crowd is going to be rocking.
Yeah, listen, Oldham will bring a brilliant crowd, and we know that York, listen, this is huge for them. When you look at last season and just avoiding relegation on the final day, I don't think on the final day they looked like they were going to go down, but actually secured it on the final day. Their last day this season could be getting promoted back into the Football League. Why would you not turn out in their lovely new stadium? It's going to be incredible.
Where do you think this game is going to be won? We've spoken about Mike Fondop. Everyone knows about Ollie Pearce. Where are the key battles on the pitch going to be?
Well, I always look at the strikers, and those two that you've just mentioned. Callum Howe's going to have his work cut out up against Mike, who is a powerful boy. Oldham showed their aerial prowess in that, victory against FC Halifax. But on the flip side, Ollie Pearce has been outstanding. So Manny Mont is going to have to make sure that he's got his wits about him. Again, somebody who's had promotion from the National League. So, I do think that if the strikers are on form, then we're in for a hell of a game. Those are the two standout performers for me.
And we don't know whether Adam Hinchelwood will go with Josh Stones as well. Obviously, that carries its own weight with his affiliation with Oldham. He's even going to get the bragging rights or be a meme come the end of the game. What do you expect from him if he is to start? Do you think Adam will go with Ollie and Josh, or do you think Josh could make an impact from the bench?
I think he'll use him as an impact. And the reason I say that is because York have a way of playing. And, it's possession-based, a lot of fluency. Now, I think that the reason they brought Josh Stones in was to give them a different dimension, a plan B, so to speak. Josh is physical, can hold the ball up really well, and obviously will get in the box and score goals as well. But that's almost their plan B. I think they'll be looking to use plan A first and go with Ollie Pearce through the middle. And then if that's not working, or if they need a goal, then you go and you put the power of Josh Stones onto the pitch.
Do you expect to see a fast start from Oldham like we did the other night, where they scored after a couple of minutes with Mike Fondop? Or how do you think they approach this now, the fact that you mentioned it earlier, they're away from home?
I think they approach it exactly the same. I think you go out and you try and impose your physicality on the opposition. Physically, they are the better team. If you're going pure brute strength for brute strength, Oldham come out on top. It's contrasting styles. York will want to try and take the ball away from Oldham. They'll want to just move them around, use their fluency and play through the lines, and then get opportunities for their main marksman in Ollie Pearce. The two styles can either drown each other out or they can make for an unbelievable tie. I think that's exactly what's going to happen because it's such a huge game.
So we've got two contrasting styles, two incredible fan bases. It's set up for a fantastic night of National League football on DAZN. Mystic Mac, with your hat on, what are you thinking? You've bigged up Oldham so much, he's now going to go York City.
I know. Do you know?
It's a tough one to call. It is really difficult.
Yeah, I think both are really difficult because you can make cases for either team. If I have to give...
You do have to give, this is a contract.
I'm going to go Oldham. And up until that eliminator, it was York. I was sure that York would go through, but just the power that they showed in that game against Halifax, I now look at Oldham and say, do you know what? They've got men in their dressing room. You know, they've physically, they just totally overran Halifax, and they have the potential to do exactly the same. I think that they'll approach the game with a real bounce about their play, and we know that when they get it right, they're a very good team. Slightly inconsistent at times, but yeah, I see them bouncing into this game, and I think they're going to physically overrun York.
Okay, so you've got Oldham taking on either Forest Green Rovers or Southend United in our second semi-final, live and exclusive on DAZN. It's going to be another great evening of football. Like you said, not many people are talking about Forest Green Rovers, but in that midfield engine room, that's where you think they could be quite dominant in this game against Southend United.
Yeah, well, May and McCann are two outstanding players. You know, May just controls the game and will look to spray the ball around. McCann, I absolutely love him as a player. You know, him and Carl McAllister are my two favourite players in that Forest Green team. And not only is he a very clever, intelligent footballer, but he's got a great eye for goal as well, in double figures this season. And I think that he's going to play a pivotal part in Forest Green if they are to prevail against Southend.
And as for Southend, one player that we mention a lot for so many different reasons, Gus Scott Morris, scoring so many goals. He could be so influential in that game as well. And he had a good game the other night in the other eliminator. How much will that game take out of those players? You mentioned in the latter stages of this semi-final, that's where they could start feeling it. But how much does adrenaline get you through and momentum? And I mean, you imagine they're going into training today and it's absolutely buzzing.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I'm sure that when they walk in and they look at each other, they know that they've been in the trenches together and they've come out on top. They know that they can dig deep, and when the chips are down, they'll all stand up and be counted. You know, I look at from Nathan Ralph all the way through the team, you know, to the strikers who came on. Macaulay Bonne, I thought, was outstanding when he came on. You know, in their forward department, they're probably different to the other three teams in that they haven't had an out-and-out goal-scoring machine all season. Gus Scott Morris at right wing-back has been their goal-scorer, which is goes totally against the grain, especially for me as a striker. You know, I'd be fuming if I was in that team. But they've found a way, and at the end of the season, all of a sudden, their strikers started coming to the party. Charlie Kendall starts scoring. You know, Macaulay Bonne starts scoring. Hopper starts scoring. You know, gets an important goal. So now it's almost like they're coming to the boil just at the right time. Is it going to be enough? We'll have to wait and see. But you've got to think that something's just simmering. There's something in the water at Southend that just gives you a sneaky feeling that it could be them.
Okay, then with your Mystic Matt hat on once again, we've got Oldham at Wembley. Going to have a huge support there. Who do you think is going to be joining them on June the 1st at Wembley Stadium live on DAZN?
I'm going to say Southend. I'm going to say Southend. I just think that it's written. I think it's written for them to go to Wembley. For what they've been through, even this season, in the latter stages when it was very much hit and miss, are they going to get there, aren't they going to get there? And they go and they put a magnificent performance in against Gateshead, and it gives them that lift to go into the eliminators. Then the eliminators, their chips are down, they look down and out, and all of a sudden they come through that. It's almost like they're writing their own Hollywood story. It's not quite the Wrexham story, but it's like they're writing their own story, and you know, it would be fitting for them to walk out of Wembley.
So there you have it. Mystic Mac predicts Oldham versus Southend United in the final at Wembley Stadium on June the 1st. I predict that you're going to enjoy the FIFA Club World Cup tournament coming live to DAZN this summer.
Greatness comes to DAZN this summer. The world's best players will be summoned together to decide the greatest club on earth.
Vinicius, great chance to score.
Goats will battle Wonder Kids. Fire will meet ice. From Boca to Bayern, PSG to Palmeiras, 32 clubs from across the globe will compete to be crowned
Rodrigo, what a strike that was.
world champion. And this summer, Haaland won't be watching from home, but you can, on DAZN. In every country in the world. FIFA Club World Cup. Watch on DAZN from the 14th of June.
We're going to finish up with another award. Ollie Pearce won the National League Player of the Year at the Non-League Paper Awards. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, so they asked if any top strikers could take it on his behalf. Unfortunately, none of them were available, so Aaron McLean did it instead.
Well, listen, unfortunately, I never actually won that trophy, so I actually
Can't believe you never won it.
Well, you know, I had to go on to the Football League and win golden boots and trophies there.
Is that why that one's behind your head? Is that in the contract as well?
Yeah, well, contract for this show, yeah, that's about it. But yeah, listen, he's been an outstanding performer, you know, fully deserved his accolade. Kyrell Lisby also got Young Player of the Year as well. So it was a brilliant evening. And yeah, credit to the lads who went out winners.
And Barnet winning Team of the Year. Unfortunately, Dean Brennan wasn't at the awards, but Connor was his assistant. The lads have been in Ibiza. They're still celebrating, but just sum up their achievement once more.
I don't think words can describe it. You know, I've obviously got an affiliation with the club, having been a player there, and you know, I know Dean Brennan and Tony Cleanthos and their family really well. So, you know, it just means everything. You know, I'm delighted for not only them, but for the fans as well. They're back in the Football League where they belong.
That's it from us. There is still plenty more National League action coming your way on DAZN. We've got the semi-finals and, of course, the final taking place at Wembley Stadium. But that's it from us now. We'll see you next time.